That's me, James the Koi Whisperer. Welcome back to the channel, James the Koi Whisperer. Today coming up in this video, just wanted to run through a few things really. In the koi pond world, why do we do it? What sort of enjoyment we get from keeping koi. I also want to run through a few things. Would you ever buy a fish online? Have you ever bought a fish online? Just really want to tell you a bit about myself really. I'm a very keen koi hobbyist. I've been keeping koi now for over 10 years. I've still got lots to learn myself, but I like to think I've got a little bit of experience now along the way. For the amount of years that I have been keeping koi, I mean, it's one of those type of hobbies that you're always learning. You're always learning off other people as well, learning different things, learning different ways of doing things. Very much enjoy it, to be fair. I find it's probably one of the most relaxing hobbies that you can have once everything's going right, because to be completely honest with you, sometimes in this game, and it's happened to me several times, especially in the early days of me keeping koi, I sort of had a few problems, not really knowing what to do, not really knowing what the problems were, the reasons behind why I was getting some of the problems. And I think with me making some of these YouTube videos, I like to think that I have helped certain people along the way. Like I said, we're always learning stuff in this hobby, but I do like to take myself as that type of person that if I can help someone, it makes me happy. The amount of people that's helped me in the past, you know, it's just a little way of me paying back my sort of appreciation to it, to be fair with you. The main reason why I keep the fish, when everything's going right, you've had a long day at work, you've been stressed, you've had a fallout with your missus, or you know, the kids are doing your head in, or you've just got that problem and you just want a little bit of de-stressing, bit of chilling out. You can come out in your garden and it doesn't matter what type of pond you've built, it doesn't matter what type of garden that you've got a pond and the sound of water running. I don't think there's anyone out there can say that it's not de-stressful. I don't think there's anyone out there can not say it's peaceful and relaxing, because I think it's an absolute godsend, to be fair. The current climate that we're all living in at the moment with COVID, especially when we're in lockdown in the UK as well. But that's not the only reason why I keep koi. I've always been a carp fisherman back in the past, and having the time to go fishing sort of ran out having the family. So having the pond in the back garden, it's the same sort of feeling for me. Don't matter what sort of hobby you do. I was always a very, very keen carp fisherman, and having these big carp in the back garden, koi in the garden, you can just come out, listen to the sound of music. I call it the sound of music, but listen to the sound of that water. It's not all singing and dancing along the way. You know, there's certain things with this hobby that you've got to keep a very keen eye on. The most important thing with this hobby is water quality. A lot of people don't realise that. Just because clear water looks like it's healthy doesn't mean that it's healthy for the fish. That's something you sort of learn in the early stages of building the pond, or keeping any sort of fish, to be fair. Clear water doesn't mean that the water's healthy. The only way you can check if your water's healthy is with water testing kits. Some people agree with it and some people don't. I mean, if you get involved in a hobby, you're going to take it to the next level, and there's always the next best thing that you can buy to help with your water quality. Same with filtration. That there's the, I would say the next step on from water quality is how you get your water quality. Number one key is filtration. If you're interested in knowing what I'm running on mine, I mean, I'm running a drum filter on mine, which is only for mechanical filtering. I will show you that in a second. The reason about having that drum filter is that it takes away all of the waste, all of the mechanical side of things, and gets it straight out of the pond as soon as it goes into that filter, instead of being left into the filter. If you keep on top of things, like I used to with my old pond, every day or every other day, keep cleaning it out. What you got to remember learning in this hobby is that if you've got a filter, it doesn't matter what type of filter it is, if it collects the muck inside of a filter, the water still passing through that filter is always getting polluted back into the water, so you're always going to have bad water quality. You've got to get that muck out, get that dirt out straight away, and then you have better water quality. Not clarity, quality. So yeah, that being said, I wanted to also say there's several different things that you can do with this hobby, progress in the hobby, and there's several different ways you can build a pond. And it all comes down to budget. It's a massively expensive hobby to be involved in. You don't have to spend thousands of pounds, but to get quality, I mean, some fish that you can buy, which we'll move on to in a minute, but some koi that you can buy are absolutely crazy. I think the most expensive koi ever sold for £1.8 million, which, when you think about that, for a fish, for a pet, out of all the pets in the world, I think it's probably one of the most expensive pets going. I mean, I'm not 100% sure on that, but 1.8 million for a fish is absolutely crazy. you know, I ain't spending nowhere near that. Buying a koi online then, so we'll just have a little chat about that for a minute. It's something that I've never done. I mean, I'm in the sort of position now where to get quality fish, to get something of a decent standard, something sort of level where I want to progress to myself, to start collecting more valuable fish that mean, you know, they've got a certain meaning behind them, certain history behind them. The only way I can sort of do that really is by buying a fish online, trusting a picture. I think there's probably a lot of people out there in the same sort of boat as me that, you know, you struggle where you live in the world, that you haven't got massive amounts of choices to go to, different shops, different retailers, depending where you live in the world. I mean, we are quite lucky here in the UK. There is quite a few, there's more and more coming, but there's quite a few. Got Absolute Koi, there's also Queenie Koi, you know, but for me to go to visit one of these places, it's at least a 4 or 5 hour drive just to visit the place. So buying a fish online is something that I've been looking at the moment. It's something that I'm tempted to do, but I've always been that type of person where I like to visually see the fish in real life, because looking at a picture, it's a catch-22 in it. A picture can look good. You look at the filters that, you know, don't take this the wrong way, but look at the filters that you can see on Facebook sometimes of some of the pictures of different, I'm not even going to go any further, but you know what I mean, what you can make a picture look like down to a point. So looking at a fish in real life is something that I've always ever done. I've only got one koi dealer close to me. I've seen all the fish that he's got up there, and you know, I'm after a certain type of fish. You'll find out in due course, but you know, I just wanted to see if anyone else had bought fish online. When you did buy a fish online, if you have, was that fish what you expected when it turned up? Did it look injured, marked? Was it damaged? You know, and the biggest thing that crosses my mind, I know these koi fish travel all the way from Japan, and from Japan to the UK. These fish, they travel all over the world, and my biggest concern, transportation, is paid a certain amount of money for a certain specific fish, and then God forbid that something happens in transportation, you know, for it to die, for you not to be home when it turns up, or, you know, it's something that I'm yet to experience myself. So whether I do that or whether I go koi shopping is still yet to happen. But yeah, I'd be interested to know your opinions on that. Have you ever bought one? Just a real quick look at the actual pond in question that we're talking about here today, or my pond. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on the dimensions of it, because we've always got new subscribers and we've always got new people asking questions. So the pond itself is not massive. It's a lot bigger than my old pond, and it was my dream pond build. It cost me an arm and a leg. I have done a price on how much it cost me. Crazy amounts of money I spent on it. It took me a whole year to build, pretty much. It was 2,500 gallons running off in the filter house, all connected to the pond. Something that I highly recommend that you definitely think about. If you're thinking about building a pond, get yourself a decent blueprint made up of the plans, what you want to do. You can have a filter house attached to it. It's surprising how much extra room that you need for filtering a koi pond. I fitted a pond window. I'll just have a real quick chat about this. It's something that I never thought that I was going to do. My opinion on it was that koi should be viewed from above, and rightly so. We've really upset the Japanese for putting these windows in our pond. The Japanese have spent hundreds and hundreds of years of perfecting koi to be viewed from above, and us, especially in the UK, decided to put windows in the side of our pond and view fish from the side. But my opinion on it, I think it's probably one of the most important things that I've done for inspecting the fish, not just so I can see them myself visually, more so I can keep an eye on the fish if they've got anything wrong with their fins, any sores, any marks, any scratches, and I can just keep an eye on the fish, you know, without bowling up the koi, but I can keep them that little bit healthier, or if I spot a problem, I can spot it before it becomes a massive problem. We'll move over into the filter house. So I run this pond off of 2 bottom drains, which is fitted into the bottom of the pond. The 2 bottom drains have aerators on them, keeping the oxygen into the pond. They come through into the drum filter that I was talking about, which into the drum filter runs straight into here. Skimmer on the top of the pond. This takes off all of the leaves and debris. It takes it all off and it all passes through the drum filter. I'll just lift the lid on this a sec so you can see what it is for the people that don't know. Like a very expensive washing machine. You can see the waste tray. It's got pressure chutes on the top. So every time that float switch, which is down there, can't get out of that 60 micron mesh, any of the waste that can't get out of it, it triggers itself off, self-cleans itself and runs straight down to waste, which goes into the drain and then that gets pumped back to my soakaway. But any drum filtering, they all do the same sort of thing. They all work the same sort of way. It brings a whole new meaning to koi keeping. I then lead that on so water passes out of here by the side. It runs through what they call a biological stage of filtering. Lift this up. So this is loads of little bits of plastic and they're constantly moving around. So any waste that does get through there, any of the good beneficial bacteria, only the best of it survive on this media. Bioflow. There's different types of plastic media that you can get, but they all sort of do the same sort of thing. The idea of it is that it's got loads of surface area, so any beneficial bacteria can stick to it and constantly keep cleaning itself, and only the best will survive on there, which the beneficial bacteria, which cleans the system, cleans the water, that passes through along the side here into a pump, turns the water, one return which is mid water, one return which is bottom water, and then it pumps it right up to the other end of the garden, which pumps it to a side pond return on the other side of the garden. Also, you can see there's another tube here. This is what feeds those two big stainless steel showers. This runs underneath here, passes underneath. 30,000 litre an hour pump gets split between two pipes, two 2-inch. That runs all the way through the back, comes through the side wall here. I've adjusted this one slightly just so I get good flow, and they're both equal because the longest route obviously is wide open, the shortest route is turned back slightly just so they both get the same amounts of water. There's two stainless steel showers, which is there, and inside of that it's got bacteria media. The bacteria a home to live, so I will get that out and show you what that is. I'm actually using the Lotus root, very good quality stuff. I'm very impressed with it, the quality. I've got 10 boxes split over those two showers and I'm super happy with it. I did get the Lotus root imported from China and it's definitely worth having. The water quality in this pond is perfect, the fish are perfect, and it's kept everything in tip-top condition. Moving on from that, I know it's a bit of a random video and I'm going from here to there to everywhere and talking about loads of different things and loads of different subjects. But as you saw a minute ago on that temperature that I just showed you, it is a winter video, so the water temperature is very cold at the moment. It's only 7 degrees. But you can see all of my fish are very active. There's a massive debate on whether you should cover a koi pond, whether you shouldn't cover a koi pond. To be honest with you, it's down to each individual. I think the most important thing, the most advice that I can give is to try to keep your water stable. A lot of people won't probably realise, but 1 degree or 2 degrees different, even 0.5 degrees different, it makes a massive fluctuation on what koi can handle, what they like. And last night we had a massive drop. It was actually -5 here last night. My water temperature dropped down to 7 degrees. If I was to chuck some food in now, they would absolutely lap it up. The biggest problem with feeding koi at the moment, when the water temperature is so cold, is that they can't actually digest the food that we give them. They'll eat the food, but they can't digest it properly. And what happens is that they'll get a bacterial infection inside of their stomach, or intestines, should I say. Because sometimes when you say something wrong in this koi world, is you get absolutely bombarded that I've said something wrong, or I've said this or said that. All I'm trying to do is recommend or advise my reasons behind certain things. But I've always been told and been taught by the way that I've learned to keep koi, that if the water temperature drops below 10 degrees, to stop feeding your fish. Your fish will constantly keep eating it. I'm very tempted to chuck a bit in here now while I'm doing a bit of videoing, but I'm not going to chuck anything in. A lot of koi keepers that go from sort of the beginning of November and they won't start feeding their fish again until late February, even later than that sometimes. Sometimes you go 3, 4, 5 months with no food whatsoever and their koi are perfect. To get growth and development and size on your fish, Then you go down a route of that you need to heat your ponds, which that's the next level of koi keeping. It's a little bit extreme when you think about it, the money that costs extra when these fish are actually cold-blooded animals, or species, whatever you want to call them, whatever they are, fish at the end of the day. The main reason why people heat their ponds is so the temperature is stable. That is the main reason why people heat their ponds. If you can imagine yourself spending 1,000, 2,000, even 5,000 pounds on a koi, and you get some sort of bacteria infection over the winter because you haven't kept the temperature stable. Not to say that it's not healthy for a fish to have a winter or a season or go through the seasons. That's down to each individual koi hobbyist. You can sort of see some people's points of that if you don't keep that water stable, the fish could get problems, the water could get problems, you could introduce parasites. Parasite infestation is a whole nother ball game that you can get with this hobby. And yeah, it's pretty endless really. You can talk for hours and hours about this hobby. And I just like to think if I can share or help anyone information, then that's part of the reason why I make these videos. So this ain't my normal sort of content. Main reason why I'm talking out here in the garden, because it's cold. I'm actually signed off work this week. I come down with the COVID at the beginning of the week. I feel fine in myself, but because I'm still testing positive at the moment, I'm not allowed to go to work. So that said, you know, I thought I'd make you a video. Load of yibbity yabbada, load of jibbity jabbada. Check out my other videos if you want to check out how I built this pond. And we'll probably do a little series on certain koi chats here and there every now and then, little updates of certain things I've got to say or ask you guys questions and what you think. I'll end the video here because it's gone on long enough. I've got a lot of editing to do, a lot of working out to do. On that note guys, stay safe and take care, and I'll catch you all on the next one.